Okay, UI elements, default elements, which usually used while building forms and other screens to collect information from a user, submit forms, questionnaires, contact forms, tests, and so on. Many of you are already familiar with this, but I think it will be useful to clarify their functions for a better future usage. So first goes Dropdown. It is a select text field where a user can select an option. In the past, this element was used only to pick one option, but recently it is also used for to select several items from a list. Sometimes, of course, it isn't much convenient, but it may be helpful when working on a small dimension screens like smartphones. More than that, you are able to put not only text lines in the drop-down section, but also may use icons, custom images, and so on. Please follow the logic when designing a drop-down. Don't forget descriptions of fonts. It should be clearly defined and affordable for a user to predict the action after a click, say feed forward. Organize your information properly and avoid two option and too long lists as well as long titles for available options. Sometimes it may be more usable to use checkboxes instead. Text field or text area is the element which communicates entering symbolic or numeric information. Nothing special here, but in some cases like entering a card information, the best practice is to divide the long numbers or IDs into 4 or 5 sections. Most of software companies have been using this feature for a long time, especially in the serial number area. Later, online payment systems picked up this and implemented in their interfaces for customers' convenience. I would also suggest to avoid fancy styles in this, especially when we are talking about checkout on e-commerce, card, entering personal, legal, financial information. All above should convey security, so should do your design. Radio buttons are used when only one option should be selected from the list. Please do not confuse it with checkboxes, because the second one are used for multiple choice sections. Radio buttons, as well as elements described before, should be intuitive. Usually selected radio button is a bright color circle within the center of a bigger circle of a neutral color. Non-selected radio button is just neutral, say gray circle, sometimes with outline. Front-end developers don't like when designers are customizing default UI elements like this, and it is sometimes unnecessary, but sometimes it helps to create more consistent design. Please keep in mind that it is possible that initially none of radio buttons in a group are selected. Checkboxes are like radio buttons, but they allow a multiple selection. Although it seems that putting these elements after the title is more logical, most of designers tend to use checkboxes and radio buttons before the element's name. This is because different length of names in one or many rows may create an unbalanced composition, so selecting needed item would be challenging. I tried once. It looked like a mess. A few years ago, designers played with these elements as they wanted, creating a pain in the ass for front-end developers by using a tremendous amount of Photoshop effects which could barely code it into CSS. Today, thank God, in technologies we can mimic majority effects from graphic software into CSS. So back to the design. Buttons came in web design industry from hardware design. Just like these old devices, web buttons symbolize an additional or separate layer on the surface of this website and specific action, usually link or operation. In the concept of website, buttons used to emphasize actions like send, submit, create, login, and so on. Most often I give the highest priority exactly to buttons, as they are the most attractive and interactive element on the canvas of website. Buttons that convey action are called call to action. You may see different examples of this on landing pages and sales letters. Please notice that you may have more than one button style on one page. Experts play with color coding by creating several different color options for buttons. This also may be a subject for analysis and defining the most efficient option. In my opinion, the temperature and intensity of the background of buttons should be defined in accordance with the section and overall style of a web interface. Creating a pink button might be appropriate for the dating website, but it also might be misunderstood on a politician's web page. Buttons may also have rounded corners, or so to speak, it may have any shape as long as it is usable for a visitor. You may also play with the font and length of the line inside button, but avoid long ones as it affects the readability. In order to follow the logic, try to keep button closer to the related section. Avoid confusion and, if possible, create a frame around the specific area or play with the background color of ones. Remember that we read from left to right, from top to bottom. Remember this while placing items on forms and design in general.